Today we are talking about all of Alana Fairchild's Goddesses decks, and my goal is that by the end of this video you are going to be able to have an idea about which one is the best for you now. Hello my love, it's Rachel here and I'm super excited to talk about these decks with you because I really love them. They're really special. They're a staple in my collection and they are really active in my personal development practice. I use these decks much more often for myself than with my clients or students. So I'm going to talk about, just to state here, we are going to talk about the Kuan Yin Oracle, the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, the Isis Oracle, the Kali Oracle, and the Mother Mary Oracle. All of them standard edition and pocket edition. I have all of them here. I've been working with them, some of them for years. I think Mother Mary came to my collection this year. I don't know if it was February. So I've been working with them for a while now. So I feel comfortable to create this video. I'm going to talk about these decks. Then I want to share with you my personal ranking. You know, from the least favorites to my most favorite of them. And I think you're going to have an idea, you know, throughout our conversation, which one is more important for me, more special. There are reasons, because deep down I love all of them. All of them are important for me. So I'd like to start talking about what they have that is really similar before we start grabbing the decks and talking about them specifically. All of these decks, they were created by Alana Fairchild. So don't expect these decks to punch you in the face or to kick your ass, because that's not her style. She is all about compassion and love. And so these decks are all about compassion and love. They are uplifting, they are empowering. So that's what you're going to find in these decks. I don't know Alana personally, of course, but I feel like she's authentic, she's honest, and I feel like she cares about the work she does. We can see that she really studied, and of course it is her interpretation. So some of us, we are going to resonate, some of us, we are not going to resonate, right? So another thing that all these decks have in common, they are all by Blue Angel. They're all published by Blue Angel. That means beautiful, sturdy, standard size boxes. They are all like this. So they're beautiful on our shelves, right? To display these boxes in our shelves. Some difference so the cards, they are all the same size as well. The difference that I noticed is that my older decks, the Kuan Yin, the Wild Kuan Yin, the Isis Oracle, they are glossy. And the two decks that came after that to my collection, let's say they are the new ones that I have. Kali Oracle and Mother Mary, they are matte. That's the difference. I would prefer if all of them were glossy, to be honest, because I think the artwork's beautiful for that, but they are not. Something else that I personally experience with these decks, and it is the same with all of them, is that I love the artwork. All of them are fantastic, but they are more inspirational, inspirational decks for me. So they activate some inspirational qualities inside of me, but they are not to be read intuitively, not for me. So that's why for all of them, the standard editions, I work with the guidebook. That's one of the reasons I don't use them in my professional readings. So I'm going to show you the cards. You are going to understand what I mean, because the images, neither the images or the titles, they give me enough material to work with them intuitively. And the guidebooks for these decks, something else that they have in common, all the guidebooks are great. They're chunky, they have lots of content. We learn about lots of things. Some of them are some of the things or some of the way she talks about these goddesses can be similar because, of course, it is the same person creating the deck. But let's talk about them now. Kuan Yin Oracle. Keyword: compassion. Kuan Yin is a figure from Buddhist tradition, and she's known as the Bodhisattva of mercy and compassion. Her story is all about kindness and unconditional love. She's said to have reached enlightenment but chose to stay close to the earth, listening to the cries of the world so she could help anyone in need. That's such a beautiful symbol of grace, forgiveness, and the healing power of love. When you work with the Kuan Yin Oracle, what really comes through is her energy of softening your heart, especially when you're going through something painful or when you need to find compassion for yourself and others. It's all about opening up to love, even in hard times, and trusting in your own healing journey. The major arcana that represents her, in my opinion, is the Temperance, because she embodies harmony and emotional healing through compassion and gentle balance. So we are going to start by talking about Alana Fairchild's first oracle deck, and it was my first oracle deck as well. Before this deck, I only had like very simple oracle decks back in my country. Actually, it was my mom's decks that I just grabbed for me. I have them here. But this one was the very first one that I had, like these oracles that we work now. It was the first one. So I was after a tarot deck actually. So I was walking around in a spiritual store, I think it's called spiritual store, where they sell crystals and tarot decks and so on. And then I saw her across the room. I saw her and I had to go there and grab her. I didn't know it was a Kuan Yin Oracle. I just saw this image. Yeah, Kuan Yin Oracle. I couldn't believe. When I grabbed her in my hands, I looked and said, oh my God, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And when I read Kuan Yin, I said, oh my God, it's so meant to be, right? And then she was my very first oracle deck. This one here, this standard edition. Not sure if you buy this deck now, if it's going to be matte, to be honest. I don't know. It's pink inside because it's so beautiful as a glossy deck. One of my favorite backs of all time. And then you are going to understand, as I show you these cards, that it's not something that I'm going to read without the guidebook, at least not for me personally. Kuan Yin Oracle. So as I just said, it was my first oracle deck ever. And it was a little hard for me, you know, because the guidebook can be a little challenging for a beginner, in my opinion. So it was a little challenging for me. Let me show you how much we have here. Let me find one that is like this. Like this. And here. So we are going to have, I don't know, a kind of a little paragraph here talking about the overall idea of the cards. Then we have an explanation. Then we have healing with the, and then she says the name, the title of the card. And then prayer to the, in this case here is the Priestess of Destiny. So it was a little bit too much for me. Why? Because back then I wanted to memorize all the cards so I could work with them without looking at the guidebook. And I just couldn't. Back then, at least, it was not possible for me. So it was a little hard to work with her because of that expectation. I wanted to memorize, but I still would work with them. And nowadays, it is a deck that I love so much. Not nowadays, for many years, right? Since the beginning, it is a deck that I cannot see my collection without her because of the soft spot. Not only because she's my first oracle deck, but because she's a Kuan Yin Oracle deck. Look at this. It's perfect, right? I simply love and adore this deck, and she's so compassionate. Some of us, and if you are something like me, I used to be very harsh on myself my whole life, like demanding a lot for myself when it comes to school and then work and then everything I would do in my life. If it was not perfect, it was not good enough. And she's the one that came forward, embraced. I felt like she was hugging me and taking care of me. So it is a deck that is beautiful for self-compassion, compassion towards others, self-love, love towards others. This is the standard edition. And then I have the pocket edition here as well. So the pocket edition has the same sturdy, beautiful box, and it's important to say, let me see here, 44 cards. All of them, they have 44 cards. Yes, it's a standard for her as well. And here we have the pocket edition. The pocket edition, you're going to have the same artwork and then a text in the back. This is matte though. This is matte. And another thing that all of them have in common, of course, it is the Blue Angel cards. So I can't complain. So guys, it is my oldest Oracle deck. I riffle shuffle her. Look at this, it's perfect. It's like new. So it is an amazing quality. Okay, so I use the Kuan Yin Standard Oracle deck for myself work, compassion towards myself and others, when I need to be a little softener, open my heart. And this one here, the pocket edition, is not as deep as that one, but it is like a small seeds of clarity and love. And I love this deck, and I'm going to tell you, because I'm creating a Kuan Yin workshop, working with her for, well, self-forgiveness, self-compassion, self-love, and so on, and extending that towards others. I've been working even more with these decks, and I started trying with this pocket edition a little bit. I always used it. I always use this deck as a seed of wisdom, if I can say that. And then I decided to try to use her as an overarching theme for a reading, and especially as a clarifier for tarot, to clarify tarot. And she has been working beautifully, of course, in a compassionate, loving way, but you can clarify actually tarot with these decks. Use with these pocket editions, use them to clarify and as an overarching theme. These ones here, the pocket editions, I do use professionally because I don't need a guidebook. And I use all of them, all these pocket editions as well, as a final message in the readings. Depending on the person's energy, I can feel what she needs more. And then I grab that pocket edition and I draw one card, and it is a final message for them. Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, keyword freedom. The Wild Kuan Yin is really another way of connecting to Kuan Yin, but through a freer, more untamed side of her energy. This aspect of her is about trusting the wild path of her soul and having the courage to follow your heart, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Her story as a bodhisattva still holds. She stays close to us to guide and protect. But here, she shows up more like a wild, loving mother who pushes you to grow, to take risks, and to trust your inner wisdom. When you work with the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, what really comes through is her energy of freedom, adventure, and deep trust in your own unique journey. It's about stepping into the unknown with faith and knowing you're always supported, no matter how wild the path seems. The major arcana related to her, for me, would be the Fool, because she invited you to trust the unknown and follow your soul's wild path with courage and faith. Now we are going to talk about another Kuan Yin Oracle. It is the Wild Kuan Yin. I think it is the only god, it is the only goddess, and that Alana Fairchild dedicated to Oracle decks. So, the Wild Kuan Yin is a deck that had different editions. This one here is the first edition, and I know that sometimes I think the deck would be even chunkier than this one here, but it is a pretty chunky guidebook, as you can see. And we are going to have, it's very similar, all of them are similar. You have the black and white reproduction of the card. Then you have some overall about the card, text, but look how much text we are going to have here. This page, this page, this page, this page, this page, let's see, and a little bit here. So she talks a little bit about the card, and then we have at the end, healing process. And all of them is the same. Again, one of the most beautiful backings of all time, in my opinion. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Glossy as well. Now, the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, I am creating some. So, the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle is gorgeous. All of them, I think all of her decks, I love the artwork. But the Kuan Yin Oracle, Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, is not exactly how I experience Kuan Yin. So that's why I connect with the Kuan Yin Oracle more than this one, because it is not exactly how I connect with her. But I use this deck. Sometimes for me, what I feel is like if it was a younger Kuan Yin. You know, the other one is about more mature, wiser Kuan Yin. And here, or not Kuan Yin, like the voice of the deck. And this one would be a younger one that is saying, go there and take all the risks you have to take. And we even mentioned, right, that for me, this deck's connected with the Fool, the tarot deck. So I think that says a lot. But look at this artwork, simply beautiful. I'm going to use this deck when I want to be a little more, you know, I want to be a little more audacious, maybe. I want to try something more. I want something to tell me, you go there and you do your thing, you know, some encouragement. I think this deck's good for that, for encouragement. It is a fresher energy. It is, I think lots of people that they're going to love this deck, and they love this deck. It's a very well loved deck, so I'm not saying that I don't like it. I love it as well. It's just not my number one. My number one for Kuan Yin is the Kuan Yin Oracle. This one here is going to allow you to tap, especially if you're somebody that is always in your comfort zone. I think it's beautiful to help you to tap into a more adventurous part of yourself, but in a compassionate and loving way. So that's how I would recommend you to use this deck. Same thing here. I have the pocket edition as well. Let's look at her here. So all the standard editions, they're the same size, and all the pocket editions, they are the same size as well. This one here, though, it is blue inside instead of red, and it is glossy. I think it is the only pocket edition that is glossy, so I don't know why, but exactly the same idea. Here we have the image, and here we have the text. Some people don't like, that's important to pay attention. When Oracle decks, they have images. There are, I think it's called portrait when they are like this, and when they are like this, landscape. So some people don't like when the same deck has images like this. I really don't care. I would prefer if they were all in the same direction, yeah, but it's not something that really bothers me. Now, look at this. Look at the text here. What I feel is that this deck is the one of all of them that has less substance for us to work in the pocket edition, honestly. That's what I feel about this deck. There's not that much thing here for us to work as the other ones in the pocket edition. But it is the same line. It's the one that I can use. Actually, I don't use this deck that often. I don't feel like reaching for this deck that often. Well, we are going to have the ranking in the end. Isis Oracle, keyword empowerment. Isis is a goddess from the Egyptian pantheon, and she is known as the goddess of magic and motherhood. Her story is all about love and devotion. Her husband, Osiris, was taken out of this existence by his jealous brother Set. Isis went all over Egypt collecting his pieces and bringing him back to life. That's such a powerful symbol of rebirth and the strength of the feminine. When you work with the Isis Oracle, what really comes through is her energy of helping you remember your own power, especially in times of change or when you feel like you've lost parts of yourself. It's about calling your energy back and stepping into your spiritual strength. The major arcana that represents her, in my opinion, is the High Priestess, because she represents sacred knowledge, intuition, and the remembrance of spiritual power that lives within you. So the next deck we're going to talk about now is the Isis Oracle. Okay? The Isis Oracle is still, I think it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful, but the artwork doesn't resonate as much as the both Kuan Yin Oracles does. You know, like the Kuan Yin Oracle and the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, I love that artwork. This one is great, but it doesn't resonate with me as much as the other two you are going to see. So, inside the box, this beautiful blue. And let's see, the guidebook, always the same story, chunky. This is, I don't want to say that it is the best guidebook at all because they all serve different purposes, but this one is very powerful, guys. It's very powerful. So same stuff, the same black and white representation of the card, the same phrase, a paragraph about the card, and then explanation. And then here we have ritual, and then you have the name of the card. Ritual of the Lady of the Stars. Then we have incantation as well. And I'm going to tell you, she has some beautiful spreads in the beginning of this book. So it's specific spreads for this deity, to work with this goddess specifically. Beautiful back. This deck here is very powerful. And for me, it has some sun energy for some reason. I don't know if it's because it's Egypt, from Egypt, but it reminds me of sun. I was a kid with a lot of connection with the Egyptian pantheon, with Egyptian history, because I was, well, since a kid I always loved history, right? And I would be there at home. Back then there was no internet, only books, tons of books. And then I would stay at my father's library and he would have some art books and history books with images. And I would sit there as a kid and looking at them, and I was completely in love with Egyptian goddesses. Goddesses like Cleopatra and things like that, all those statues and stuff like that. So I always had a strong connection with the history, the myth around Egypt. This deck here is going to actually, as I said, remind you of your own inner magic. So if you're somebody that is working now on your spiritual path and you want to activate this High Priestess energy inside of you, I think it's a beautiful deck for clarity, to help to have clarity on your spiritual path. Much more than anything else. Much more than about compassion or about your material path here in the world, in the material world. No, it's more about your spiritual path. I love this deck. It is a really great deck. I had some huge, beautiful readings with this deck, especially using those spreads, like 1 hour and something readings with this deck. And I found out so many things. For you to have an idea, when I worked with this specific spread, I think I did that just once. I didn't have to do that again because it's so powerful with such powerful messages. Here we have the pocket edition. This pocket edition here, same blue inside, matte as well. Only the Wild Kuan Yin was glossy. Same story, right? This one is it has substance for me, just like the Kuan Yin. So I would say that it is, actually, I'll be honest with you. Of all the ones that we are going to talk, only the Wild Kuan Yin, I don't feel that much substance as the other ones. All the other ones, they are the same. They are wonderful. They're perfect. I use this deck a lot as a final messaging readings with my students and clients, especially those of them who are, well, it happens so often, like when they need more self-confidence in their own spiritual path, when they need more self-confidence to embrace who they really are. I like to use this deck as a final message, and it's always spot on as well. Beautiful deck with images that are beautiful for altar, for if you work with symbols. It is an amazing deck for that. This was the Isis Oracle Standard and Pocket Edition. Kali Oracle. Keyword: transformation. Kali is a goddess from the Hindu pantheon, and she is known as the goddess of destruction, transformation, and fierce love. Her story is about clearing away what no longer serves, even if it feels scary or chaotic in the moment. She is often depicted as a wild and fierce because she cuts through illusions and helps you face your shadow. But at her heart, she is deeply loving. She destroys only to make way for your true self to shine. When you work with the Kali Oracle, what really comes through is her energy of deep transformation, especially when you need to release old patterns and a chapter or face uncomfortable truths. It's about trusting that even destruction can be an act of love when it helps you grow and align with your essence. The major arcana connected to her, in my opinion, would be the Tower, because she brings fierce love that destroys illusion, clearing the way for deep transformation and truth. Now we are going to talk about the deck that people usually think that would be a deck that would punch you in the face and kick your ass, which is the Kali Oracle, because of her nature. So people think that would be a shadow work deck, although I want to record a video about this idea of shadow work decks. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, share my point of view. But this deck is gorgeous. It's beautiful. So look, red inside, gorgeous. Let's take a look at the same story. I'm going to repeat myself. Chunky guidebook, same thing, the black and white reproduction, a paragraph about the card and all the text. Then you are going to have here, 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 and here. So some people would not prefer not working with the guidebooks, because I think if you don't work with the guidebooks with these decks, you're going to be missing too much. I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend that. But some people think that it is too much. So what you can do is, when you draw a card, go there and maybe highlight the most important parts. The next time you draw that card, you can read just the highlights maybe, because it can be a little bit too much. So these decks, they are not decks for daily draws for me. The standard editions, none of the standard editions I use as a daily draw. Like every day I'm going to pull a card and read the guide. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't have time for that, right? Now, the pocket editions, beautiful for daily draws, but not the standard ones. Here we have, look at these backs. Gorgeous, right? Matte. And this deck here, I think because of the image and the nature of Kalima, people think there's going to be harsh on you and stuff like that. Me, no. If that's what you're looking, none of these decks are going to be a nice deck for you. That being said, I think it's important to share that I used to be the thing that sometimes, when I was younger, right, guys, in my 20s, I would think that when I was younger, because I know some people can say, oh, I didn't say that, but okay, when I was younger, we are always too young, but when I was younger, like in my early 20s, it was not even something that I would think about, but I would feel and believe that being harsh on myself was the best way to get better, to improve myself. to push myself to do more, to be everything that I could be. And life taught me that that's not always the case. Of course, I'm not saying that we should all the time like be there tapping our heads. We are like maybe we are doing things that are not nice, and then we can't just tap our heads. We must be harsh on ourselves as well, right? But it's not something we should do all the time, and there's ways and ways to be harsh on ourselves. So I learned that through self-compassion and self-love, we can grow even more if we have the correct consciousness, if we have the when I talk about the correct consciousness, it's much more about a world model, a way of looking at life, others, and ourselves, like it's going to define how we believe that we can improve ourselves. And that's a whole conversation, actually. And in my opinion, working from a more compassionate way is going to be better. It's going to be more, it's going to give you more results, let's say. Because think about it. In order to understand ourselves, in order to really face our personal growth, we must be open. And you must be open to work with ourselves. It's a little crazy, right? But think about it. If a person is always criticizing you, turning you down, like, would you be open to that person? Would you feel comfortable showing who you really are? Of course not. So the idea behind loving ourselves, having the compassionate spirit towards ourselves, is because then we are going to feel more comfortable to open up and show our own shadows, our own limitations, our own challenges, our own ego, right? That's what I believe. And this deck here, as I told you, it feels, of course, because that's Kuan Yin. That's Kali. She has that energy of the Tower, at least in my opinion, because she has that spirit of destroying something, of removing something from our path. Of course, people say approach her with care. That's why I shared. So if you didn't watch the video about working with the Divine Feminine, I don't know what you're waiting for. You should watch that video. And the fact is that things must go away from our lives. And I want to tell you now, specifically at this moment in time, we really need to let lots of things go. That's the energy in the air. So this deck's very nice to work right now. We have this global energy of changing and shifting. At least now that I'm recording this video, it is the end of 2025, and all 2026 will have the same energy. Now, the pocket edition. Look how nice it is. Let me see. We look different covers, because look how nice it is. We have the light and the shadow. Beautiful. Here it's blue inside, same as the other ones. It is matte, but I think it is the only one that has this kind of decoration in the back. This deck here is just like the Kuan Yin and the Isis Oracle, super powerful, but I would say that the pocket edition is even more loving than the standard in this case here. I can feel the difference. In the other ones, I would say they are kind of the same energy, but this one here, she's even more compassionate, even more like uplifting. She's there like, rooting for you. It's a beautiful deck. And I use as well on my professional readings as a final message I use for myself. I think these pocket editions, guys, they're genius. They don't replace the standard editions at all, but they're genius. They serve their own purpose. Mother Mary Oracle, keyword grace. Mother Mary is a figure from the Christian tradition, and she's known as the mother of Jesus and as a symbol of unconditional love and grace. Her story is about faith, humility, and saying yes to a higher calling, even when it's not easy. She's often seen as a gentle, nurturing presence, someone you can turn to when you need comfort, guidance, or just to feel held in love. When you work with the Mother Mary Oracle, what really comes through is her energy of deep peace and trust, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure about your path. It's about softening to love, having faith in yourself and in life, and knowing you're always supported. The major arcana related to her, in my opinion, would be the star, because she can be seen as a beacon of hope in dark times, or the strength as well, because she can be seen as an example of resilience and the embodiment of loving strength. So our last deck here is the last deck that came to my collection, the Mother Mary Oracle. This deck came to my collection only now in 2025. And as I told you in the Working with the Divine Feminine video, I was born in the most Christian country in the world, and Mother Mary is a natural presence for us, right? So I was kind of, why? Like I was not feeling like I would need it. The reason why, beautiful red inside, the only reason why I decided to buy this deck was, well, before that, let me show you the guidebook. Same guidebook. Still a little shorter though, but here we have the same kind of content. Here, healing process and affirmation. Little less content, right? So as I was saying, the reason why I decided actually to buy this deck was because the back here, this is my least favorite backs. It is because when I started working with women in English, because you know I've been working with people in my native language in Portuguese since 2013. I started working as a spiritual mentor, that's what I call, because I share things that I have been, a path that I really walk. I'm not just going there studying theory and sharing. I like to share the path that I really walk. And the idea in this path is not teaching them what I do, in the sense that teaching them to be how I am or do what I do. No, it is to share the experience of living in a personal spirituality, which I call it personal spirituality, aligned with your essence. It's unique. This relationship we have with the spiritual energy, whatever you believe in, is personal. So that's my process, that's my mission, that's my work, helping with that. So that's why I have students that come from different backgrounds, all kind of religions or no religion at all, right? Anyways, when I started then working here in English, especially with North American women, and especially women from the United States, I started noticing a kind of pattern, not in everybody, not in all of them, of course, but it started showing up women that would be carrying some religious trauma. I never had, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I never had, I can't remember even one name of a client or a student that came with that kind of issue in my native language. And in English, it started happening. Like I don't even can compare the amount of students and clients I have in my native language and in English. So how can I say, statistically, many more. I was like, there's something going on there that I'm not understanding. So I started studying in order to serve these women better. I started studying a little bit more about these challenges that they face when it comes to Christianity. And then I decided to add this deck because I know that many women that have this kind of issue, they try to connect with Mother Mary as a way to heal. And then that's why I decided to buy this deck. Although I bought this deck, and what a surprise, beautiful artwork as well, my mom started coming through this deck. So it became a deck to talk, to receive messages from my mom, of course. Of course, she was a huge admirer. She was a huge, I want to use the word fan, but it's not a fan. It's a devotee of Mother Mary. And then the messages are always beautiful and spot on. So I had this standard edition, and then I started using this standard edition before bed. Oh my God, it was always the message that I had to get. So I would recommend you to get this deck if you want that, you know, maternal voice. It's like a mom talking to you. It's beautiful the way she wrote this guidebook. And can you see, guys, all the titles, for me at least, they don't give me content enough to work without a guidebook. All of them, I think you saw, right? I didn't mention when I was showing the decks, but I think you saw. So this one is the standard edition of the beautiful Mother Mary Oracle. I love this deck. That's super important in my collection. And here we are going to have the pocket edition. Look how different they are. This is the pocket edition blue. Inside, light blue. And this, then I thought, okay, I'm not buying the pocket edition. I don't need it because I'm using it to receive some message from mom. And then I can use just the standard. But then I decided to buy, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So when I need my messages every night now, I've been using this deck here. I use the other one when I want a little bit more of content, of course, but this one here is beautiful to draw from every night. It's like your mom there besides you, giving you an amazing message. And when I say your mom, it's not necessarily your physical mom, right? Because many people, men and women, they have some mother wounds, we can say, and sometimes father wounds as well. And sometimes when it's hard to forgive, or it's hard to heal, it's hard to this and that. And I have a different approach to this conversation, because I believe that healing the mother is not about healing the relationship with the mother that maybe was not great for you or maybe not even good. It is about healing that mother inside of us. It is the way that we have that representation of what it means to be a mom and a dad, but inside of us and for ourselves. So a little bit about what I shared about the way we treat ourselves is learning how to be a better mother for ourselves. It's not even for our kids. It is for ourselves. This is the Mother Mary Oracle, right? Now, I think I said that I'm going to give you a ranking. Now I'm kind of regretting a little bit because I love all of them so much. Okay, I'll talk about the pocket editions. About the pocket editions, my least favorite, the Wild Kuan Yin, because I just don't feel like the message they don't hit me the same way the other ones they do. Okay, so it would be this one. Now, when it comes to these other ones, I think you just choose the one you like the most, and that's it, because they are all four of them. They're fantastic. You can all of them you can use before bed, but the ones that I think are nicer before bed are the Kuan Yin and the Mary Mother. I would say, of course, you can use all of them, but sometimes I think that the Isis and the Kali, they can be more active, asking for more action. That's what I feel, if that makes sense. Now, standard edition. So let's see here. Let me prepare. Right? So when it comes to standard editions, my least favorite is the Wild Kuan Yin. But she's not going anywhere, okay? I want her in my connection too. Well, we never know about how it's going to be tomorrow, but today I can tell you I want her in my collection to the end. So the number 5 is the Wild Kuan Yin. The number 4, it is the Kali Oracle, which doesn't mean that I don't love her. It just means that maybe I love the other ones even more, but I love her as well. The number, well, let's say the number 4 and 3 is very hard for me to choose because they are different. So the Isis Oracle is more active, as I told you, tap into your magic and this and that. But the Mother Mary is that mom energy. Come here, let me hug you. Let me help you to heal your mother wounds or your feminine issues and stuff like that. She's gorgeous. So they're different. They serve different purposes. They have different voices. All of them have different voices. But let's say it's hard for me to give them different spots because inside their own category, they're both wonderful in the same way. And my first one is going to be the Kuan Yin Oracle. But I decided to give it the real ranking, not thinking about overall and general. I thought about sharing my own experience because overall, general, you can find out there. Here, I have to share my own experience. That's what I think. This deck here, of course, she's going to be important because she's one of my main deities. It is actually Mother Mary as well. But my relationship with her is a little different because it started when I was, later in life, let's say in 2015, so 10 years ago. And she's been important in my life for the past 10 years. Anyways, let's say that the other two goddesses that I used to work with, Mother Mary and Yemanja, I shared with you in the Working with the Divine Feminine video, I wouldn't work with them as goddesses. It was a different kind of relationship than I have with this one here, the Kuan Yin. So this deck, of course, it is important for me because of who Kuan Yin is on my path, but because it was my first oracle deck as well, and because I am a person, as I told you, that I am extremely loving and compassionate. No, I was extremely compassionate and loving towards others, but never towards myself. But in the past, let's say 13 years, I started working on that. And yes, for several years now, I exercise self-compassion and self-love in a beautiful way. And that allowed me to express even more compassion and love towards others. And this this beauty has been crucial on my journey. Okay, extremely important. I can't see my collection without the Kuan Yin Oracle. My love, thank you for watching. If you think that this video was useful in some way, please give this video a like, maybe share with somebody that would like to watch this video, and drop in the comments down below if this kind of video makes sense, because I was talking a lot, sharing a lot, and I don't know if you like this kind of videos. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for being here with me. I hope this video helped you to understand and choose your deck. If you already decided for one of them, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for being here, my love. I wish you an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Lots of love.